Good morning, Cougars. I'm Mr. Stolpa. With me is my producer, Father Joe.
Hello, everyone. Great to be with you all.
So we decided we had this idea that we're going to record a podcast.
And it came out of a conversation we had at a admin meeting just recently where we're doing these like partnering with parents meetings. We had one where Mr. Stolpa led, talking about academic formation here. And then we had another one with Mr. Luya talking about social formation, but it hasn't really been very well attended. We thought, well, maybe there's a better way that we can connect with our school parents and students. So then in that process, Chris, you suggested, well, what about a podcast? And I used to do some of this stuff.
I suggest a lot of things in meetings, and this is one of the ones that actually got the nods rather than the head shakes.
Yes.
I was very, and Father was really excited about this. So, Father, have you done podcasts before?
I haven't actually done a podcast, but I was involved in getting our parish podcast up and running at my last assignment, St. Pat's in Brighton. And we pretty much just posted homilies there. So a little bit of a different, because you're already like preaching that stuff, you just record it and then post it. I never really did podcasts.
So strangely enough, because I was fascinated by this when I found out. So when you give a homily, you're speaking to the little microphone,
yeah,
the Britney Spears one if you're lucky, and it goes to a soundboard and you record them. They automatically record. Is that what happens, Father?
Yeah. Well, like they have to have the recording device back there. And
okay. So sometimes even on your best homilies, you forget to record it.
Sometimes.
So there's probably some really amazing Father Joe homilies out there that have never been
That's
recorded.
only known to the mind of God.
And the hearts and minds of the congregation at the time,
yes,
right?
Yes. Now, one of my jobs here at school is to do the morning announcements on the PA system for the whole school. And when I first got here, I was really nervous about it because it just feels like a lot of pressure. Even though you can't see the people listening, you know, the whole school is there. But now I feel like all that time in practice was to prepare me for this moment, this podcast.
So a little story about that. So sometimes Father is gone. He goes to other churches, and in the afternoon, we end at 3:10. So sometimes Father is not there. And then my first year here, this is my third year, and Father, this is your third year here too, right? That first year, Father would always ask me if I could fill in for the announcements. Father doesn't ask me to do this anymore. So here I am now with this podcast with Father, and I feel like he can't. Maybe he will kick me out. It's called Cougar Talk with Mr. Stolpa right now. Maybe it'll be Cougar Talk with not Mr. Stolpa.
I'm just trying to make it up to you. So all those times when maybe I hurt your feelings because you didn't do announcements, here you are. You are the host of this brand new show just for you, Stolpa.
So aside from the podcast, Father, how long have you been a priest?
Been a priest 6.5 years.
6.5 years, and you've been here for 3.
Well, this is halfway through my third year.
So halfway through your third year. So before you came here, you were where?
I was at St. Pat's in Brighton.
And when you found out you were becoming the Lansing Catholic chaplain, is that a position you apply for, or how do you become the chaplain at Lansing Catholic High School?
Well, when you're a young priest, it's pretty much just told to you where you're going to go. You don't necessarily have much say in that. So like my very first assignment, I just got a call from the bishop while I was still in seminary. He said, he actually left me a voicemail because I was in class. So I had a call from the bishop and got real nervous. And sure enough, he's like, well, Joseph, I was hoping to talk to you, but here's where you're going to be. And he told me I'd be at St. Pat's. And then as I was getting to the end of my time there, because I knew I'd only be there for maybe 3 or 4 years, I had heard from like some of my other priests that were close to my age that they thought I'd be good at a high school. And so they were telling the bishop that. And the bishop definitely listens to that sort of input. So I sort of had a sense that I'd probably be at a high school. I enjoy high school ministry. It seems like lots of fun. So the bishop did eventually call me. Actually, I think he didn't tell me that time. I found out from Father Matthias, who is the pastor at St. Pat's, who was on the assignment board. So he knew, and he told me. And the bishop never actually called me. So eventually I reached out. I was like, So
are you actually the chaplain here, Father, or did you just kind of show up?
I'm just an imposter. I just showed up. No, I did eventually call him. I was like, Bishop, so am I officially the chaplain? And he's like, yeah, you're going to be the chaplain. I was like, okay, good. And
we are happy to have you. We're lucky to have you. What were you worried about the most becoming a chaplain to a bunch of high schoolers?
I'd say it was a little bit anxious about just the unknown, because being a high school chaplain is very different than being at a parish. I sort of had the parish thing more or less figured out, at least the basics, but high school ministry is a totally different animal. I mean, your sacramental duties are way less. They're much lighter. So at the parish, a huge part of my time was just spent saying masses, doing funerals, hearing confessions, visiting the sick in hospitals, all that stuff. Whereas here, there isn't a whole lot of that. I mean, I still say mass every day, and I hear confessions every Friday, but that's pretty much the bulk of my sacramental duty. So what do you do with the rest of your time? Well,
And do you get summers off?
I mean, I thought I'd have like full 3 months off, but it turns out there's a lot of work in June that goes all the way up until basically July. July is very quiet. Like there's not really anything that goes on in July. But then as soon as you get to August, there's a lot of stuff that starts happening again. Even though we're not in school, there are meetings and things. You just kind of got to be around. So basically July is off, and that's when I use time to go on vacation, go on retreat, maybe go to a conference or something. Sail my sailboat, and then
we'll talk about that later throughout the show because I'm fascinated by a father in a sailboat.
Maybe we'll have to have an entire episode just on sailing. I would love that.
On the boat, we'll record it from the boat.
That would be that might involve some technical challenges, but we'll see what we can do.
Well, because
the wind, for example, we'd have to get wind barriers for the microphones.
So what's amazing about that is we'd be recording the podcast, which is for school, so we could call it a day off, but it's not really.
It's actually a work day.
Yes,
we're on an important work assignment.
Sorry, sometimes we have to do what you have to be
gone. Yeah, that's a great idea. We'll see what Dominic thinks of that. So we should talk about a little bit of the plan for this podcast.
So my producer is now saying we're talking too much. So
yeah.
We've got to get into what the nitty-gritty of the show is.
So the idea is every Monday at 6 a.m., Stolpa Show would drop. We'd post it to the podcast channel, and that'd be sort of a combination of like little updates about things going on at school. We'd also include a short little staff interview or maybe of a student, and then we're going to do like a mailbag or a question thing. So if you look in the show notes for the podcast, there's a link to a Google form where you could submit a question. If you want to talk about something or have us answer a specific question, you can just type whatever you want there. And it's all anonymous, so you can either leave your name or be anonymous. And that'd be like the weekly Stolpa Show. And then on Wednesdays, we'll drop recordings of like student testimonies or maybe a good talk that happened at school. We just had one recently with Father Brian Lenz, or maybe a homily or something, that sort of thing. So basically, twice a week, something will be uploaded. And if you subscribe to the channel, you'll get all of our content.
So what I'm hearing, Father, is that we have an entire network of podcasts and recordings that we're going to call Cougar Talk.
Yes.
And then inside of Cougar Talk and the Cougar Talk network, there's going to be on Monday mornings at 6 a.m. Eastern as the Stolpa Show.
Yep.
And then Wednesdays, it's going to be testimonies. But we don't know what we're going to call that yet. We'll call it
testimonies,
something cool.
Talks, homilies.
Yes,
we'll come up with something.
maybe that TTH. We'll just call it that. So all of this is to say, you can find all of our podcasts on Apple Podcasts and Spotify.
Yep.
Be sure to subscribe. Click the links below.
Give us good reviews. Tell all your friends.
If you are interested in sponsoring any part of Cougar Talk, please let us know that as well.
Yeah, we would love to read some catchy ads for local restaurants or
Drive
businesses.
business to you, yes.
And we'll see what happens. Maybe this will become a huge influential show, and all of Lansing will be listening to those.
The only chance
ads.
that it becomes an influential show is if you replace me with somebody competent, Father. But for now, you're stuck with me.
Here we
Cougar
go.
Nation.
We'll give it a shot.
I'm Mr. Stolpa. Thank you as always. Father, take it away.
What do I do now?
I don't know. This will be like a catchy close.
We hadn't thought about how to close this.
Yeah, we need to have like a cool quote.
How about we just end with saying, "Go Cougars."
Go Cougars. If you're out on your bike tonight, please, as always, wear white.
All right.
That's
See you
a
later,
different one.
everybody.
Yep. Bye.